All right, let's be direct. That anxiety you're feeling about the chapter Indigo, it's almost certainly because you're focusing on the wrong details. We're not here to just memorize the story. Nope. We're here to master the strategy for your exam.
Does this sound familiar? I bet it does. It's that classic feeling of being completely lost in the details, right? Seeing all the trees, but totally missing the forest. So many students feel this way. But don't worry, we are going to fix that right now by zeroing in on what truly matters.
Okay, here is the big mindset shift you have to make. Your exam is not a history quiz. It's a test of how well you understand character and strategy. You really only need to master 4 key elements: Rajkumar Shukla's incredible persistence, the raw injustice of those Indigo contracts, the exact moment the peasants finally found their courage, and of course, the big one, Gandhi's strategic leadership.
First up, the story in 60 seconds. Before we dive deep into the why, let's make absolutely sure we have the what locked down cold.
So, it all kicks off in 1916 with Shukla, this peasant who was poor but unbelievably resolute. He follows Gandhi everywhere. By 1917, Gandhi's in Champaran, digging into the facts, even though the authorities are threatening him. This all leads to a court summons in Motihari. But this is where it gets interesting. Thousands of peasants show up, not out of fear, but in support of him. This is our first real taste of courage. The whole thing builds to a settlement where the British landlords are actually forced to refund money, which was a massive, massive turning point.
All right, Section 2, Why It Mattered. Now we get to the crucial part, moving beyond just the plot and into the analysis. Trust me, this is exactly what examiners are looking for.
Think of it this way. On one side, you have the lawyers. They're all about fees and fighting these long, intimidating battles in court. A process that just terrified the already crushed peasants. But Gandhi's approach, it was fundamentally different. He knew that the real win wasn't a legal document. It was freeing people from fear itself. And here's the lesson. Once the peasants found their courage, the legal victories were almost inevitable.
And that brings us to the 25% refund. It sounds kind of small, right? But the actual amount was never the point. For the very first time, the British landlords were forced to surrender not just their money, but their prestige. And this is just a brilliant illustration of Gandhi's strategy, that symbolic victory was so much more powerful than any financial one could ever be. And when did Gandhi actually declare this victory? You know, it wasn't when they agreed on the refund. It was the moment the lawyers, inspired by his courage, agreed to follow him to jail if they had to. That moment of solidarity, of shared sacrifice, that was the real win. It proved that their moral courage was absolutely unbreakable.
This leads us right into another core theme, self-reliance. Remember when the English pacifist C.F. Andrews offered to help? A lot of people were thrilled. But Gandhi's refusal was a critical lesson. He taught them that leaning on an Englishman for help, even a friendly one, was a weakness. True freedom, he argued, had to be won by Indians for Indians.
So, what does this whole episode show us about Gandhi's character? Well, we see he's empathetic. He takes the time for Shukla, but he's also deeply strategic. He's a persistent investigator, always demanding facts, not just emotions. His moral courage is obvious when he's facing arrest. He's a pragmatic negotiator with that 25% compromise. And ultimately, he's a nation builder focused on things like schools and healthcare, not just quick political wins. Okay, Section 3, let's decode your exam. We're going to get tactical now. These ideas consistently pop up in 6 specific high-yield passages. You need to know them inside and out.
Let's look at this roadmap. First, Shukla's appeal. This is where they test if you get his stubborn determination. Second, Gandhi's freedom from fear speech. The examiners want you to explain his philosophy of psychological empowerment over just winning in court. Third, the Motihari crowd. This is an inference question. You have to be able to state that this crowd signifies the beginning of the end of their fear. Fourth, the 25% refund. This is all about whether you grasp the idea of a symbolic victory. Fifth, rejecting Andrew's help. That's the key passage for the theme of self-reliance. And finally, Gandhi's claim that his actions were an ordinary thing. This is a test of a much bigger idea, that fighting for your own sovereignty should be normal, not extraordinary.
All right, next section, memory triggers. In the heat of an exam, under pressure, you need anchors. So let's lock in these concepts with a few powerful, easy-to-remember triggers.
Here we go. Think Shukla Sherpa. He guided Gandhi to the problem just like a Sherpa guides a climber up a mountain. Remember, fear versus law to recall Gandhi's core philosophy. For the settlement, just think 25% does not equal money. It equals the surrender of prestige. Crowd courage instantly links the Motahari scene to their liberation. And finally, no English crutches. That phrase should bring back the whole theme of self-reliance and the C.F. Andrews story. Use these. They'll anchor the ideas in your mind.
Okay, last section, your final confidence boost. Forget about panic. As you walk into that exam hall, here is your plan.
You have to remember this. Half-yearly exams are designed to test your foundational understanding. They are not there to trick you. If you can clearly explain why fear was the real enemy, why 25% was a huge victory, and why self-reliance was completely non-negotiable, then you have already mastered this chapter.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about, because it's not just about passing an exam. The real challenge is to move beyond simply memorizing events and patterns. Ask yourself, have you genuinely understood the powerful ideas about courage, justice, and self-reliance that Gandhi was teaching? Because that understanding, that is what will truly stay with you. You've got this.